Hello, lovely viewers. You are most welcome to our channel Poetry Online. In this video, we shall be discussing the detailed analysis of If We Must Die by Claude McKay. Kindly subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to get updates on all our new videos. Once again, let us assure you of a very interesting discussion. Get ready for this lesson. If We Must Die is a poem written by Jamaican-American writer Claude McKay, which was published in 1919. This poem was written in response to mob attacks by white Americans upon African-American communities during the Red Summer. The Red Summer is a period from late winter through early autumn of 1919, during which white supremacist terrorism and racial riots took place. After the First World War, there were dozens of brutal race riots in America because the black veterans who came back from the war were considered a threat to the Jim Crow and racial subordination. One thing you have to take into consideration when analyzing this particular poem is the fact that the poem was written in a period when there was widespread discrimination in America. Several generations of African Americans have suffered physical, physiological, and psychological torture in the hands of supremacist white Americans. These racist-minded white Americans believe that they are superior in every aspect to blacks and therefore cannot afford to be treated alike. Blacks attended segregated schools, patronized segregated stores, took segregated buses, and lived in segregated neighborhoods. Most of the African Americans who challenged this oppressive system were lynched, jailed, or forcefully repressed, leading to widespread fear and panic in the black communities. It is against this background that Claude McKay wrote this poem to encourage all black Americans to protest and free themselves from all form of dehumanizing acts. Claude McKay uses his poem, If We Must Die, to demonstrate to all and sundry that deadly resistance in some situations is necessary in order to preserve honor and human dignity, and to combat injustice and oppression of any form. The poem talks about a group of suppressed people who have been stripped of their dignity and freedom as humans. This oppressed group of people are made to live in perpetual suffering, fear, and pain, but are now fed up with these inhuman acts and are ready to fight the oppressors to reclaim their human dignity and freedom. It is clear from all indication that the oppressed group of people are in despair, so the speaker proposes a rather radical solution to solve their problem instead of sitting down doing nothing. This radical solution is characterized by violence, bloodshed, and death. The speaker does not concern himself with the inevitability of death. His main concern is how to die a noble death. This poem contains 14 lines, made up of 3 quatrains and a rhyming couplet. It follows the pattern of a Shakespearean sonnet. Hence, we can say with all certainty that If We Must Die is an example of Shakespearean sonnet. It has the rhyme scheme A B A B, C D C D, E F E F, G G. The tone of this particular poem is that of despair and defiance. Even though the poem is motivational and inspirational, it has a gloomy atmosphere of death. The mood of this poem is serious and fearful, determined, and bravery. The diction of the poet is a mixture of simple, straightforward, and archaic words which describe the complexity of the subject matter which he discusses, fighting at all costs to reclaim one's dignity. Let's take a deeper analysis of the lines contained in the poem, beginning with the title of the poem, If We Must Die. The title of this poem quickly informs readers of the seriousness of the subject matter that is to be discussed. The title re-emphasizes the fact that blacks will continue to die or suffer under white supremacy, which is very bad. He sees the act of just standing and doing nothing as cowardice. Hence, he redefines how blacks should die. Blacks should not die through lynching. They should not die through mob justice. They should not die through forcefully repressed actions. Blacks should die a noble death. Here, the speaker redefines how blacks should die. The poem basically encourages African Americans to wage a relentless war against all forms of oppression in order to give their lives a purpose. Let's now take a deeper analysis of the lines contained in the poem. If we must die, let it not be like hawks. The speaker begins the poem by telling African Americans that death is inevitable. However, it does not mean that one should die anyhow or one should die any kind of a death. No, the speaker redefines how blacks should die. We in this line can be said to be African Americans considering the background of the poem. The speaker compares lives of African Americans to a hog. Hog here simply means pig. What this simply means is that African Americans have been equated to animals by white supremacists and do whatever pleases with them. The speaker of this poem seems to be the leader of this oppressed group of people. He is encouraging them not to allow themselves to die any dehumanizing death. This line gives a situation of hopelessness as blacks are left with no other option than to fight for survival, a fight in which they are not sure of victory. Hence, death is the only option that awaits them in this particular fight. Hunted and penned in an inglorious sport. The speaker continues with his words of encouragement, telling all African Americans that they cannot escape death. However, they can choose how they will die. In this line, he encourages them not to die like hawks or pigs who are hunted and penned in an inglorious sport. He uses the word hunted to bring to mind the kind of brutality African Americans face in the hands of white supremacists. Blacks are hunted down, lynched, killed, and treated like animals. Here, Claude McKay encourages his people not to allow themselves to be slaughtered like pigs who are trapped in some dishonorable place. They are humans and they have a say. Therefore, they can do something about their situation instead of standing there like pigs who are trapped in a particular situation. They are humans and can do something about their situation. While round us, bark the mad and hungry dogs. In this line, the speaker describes the situation they find themselves. He tells us that they are surrounded by mad and hungry dogs. The use of dog here is very important to the understanding of the poem. Dogs here represent the oppressors. The use of dogs represent the oppressors of black community. These dogs, we are told, are not just mad, but equally hungry. This goes to inform readers of the poem of the ferociousness of the white oppressors who are interested in causing pain to the black community. The use of mad and hungry demonstrate the potential or the force in which the oppressors cause pain and brutality to the oppressed group of people. Notice how the poet flipped the script. In the first line, he tells us how the oppressor has reduced the oppressed to an animal. However, the poet used another animal to describe the oppressor. This is to show that the actions of the oppressors makes them more of animals, since they have no sympathy, empathy, and no sense of humility. Therefore, they are the real animals and not the oppressed. Notice the use of dog and hawks. These are words that are different with just one word. Dogs, D-O-G-S. Hogs, H-O-G-S. So the only difference here is the first letter of the words. What this simply means is that both the oppressor and the oppressed are all humans. They are all the same. But the speaker doesn't understand why the oppressor treats the oppressed in that manner, making their mock at our accursed lords. What this line simply means is that these mad and hungry barking dogs are mocking the oppressed for putting them in such a dire situation, a situation where nothing can save them from their brutality, a situation which leaves them with no other choice but death. If we must die, oh, let us nobly die. This line is very inspirational and motivational. It gives the Black community tangible reasons why they shouldn't die any kind of a death. Even though they can't escape death, they can choose to die with honor. The use of "oh" in this line makes it a passionate appeal to the oppressed or the Black community not to give up on their cause for freedom. If we must die, oh, let us nobly die, so that our precious blood may not be shed in vain. The use of the word precious blood makes reference to the blood of Jesus Christ. Just as Jesus Christ shed his blood to save humanity and cleanse Christians from sins, the same way the blood of these oppressed blacks will save the generations of several blacks yet to come from the humanizing practices of the white supremacists. Hence, if we are prepared to shed our blood, it should be in the cause of justice. Shed your blood in the fight against discrimination, and you will die a nobler death, since your blood will not be shed in vain. What this simply means is that the blacks who died, or the blacks who died in the cause of justice, died achieving a cause. Hence, their blood was not in vain, or they didn't shed their blood in vain. They died pushing for a change, so that the series of black generations that are yet to come can escape the humanizing practices from white supremacists, so our precious blood may not be shed in vain. Again, one can interpret this to mean that whether they like it or not, they are going to be faced with brutality. They are going to be faced with violence. So why not just fight and be brutalized? Why not just fight and shed blood in the cause of change instead of just sitting down and still be brutalized? Then even the monsters we defy shall be constrained to honor us though dead. The speaker tells his audience or his listeners that if they die a nobler death, even the enemies that they are fighting will be left with no other option than to celebrate and glorify them, even though they are dead. Let us understand these particular words. Honor us, though dead. What this simply means is that the oppressed community or the speaker is encouraging his people not to fight in order to be heroes. No, they are fighting to save the generations yet to come. Notice how the poet equates the oppressors to monsters. This is a deliberate attempt to show that the oppressed community are more of humans than the oppressors, since the oppressors lack empathy, sympathy, and humility. O kinsmen, we must meet the common enemy. Here, the speaker makes a passionate appeal to his kinsmen. Kinsmen here simply means friends, family, tribe, or close relations. He is encouraging all those who have been stripped of their dignity and freedom through racism and racist activities to fight for their human dignity and freedom. This line is a call for action for all the oppressed community to tackle their problems boldly without fear of death. What this simply means is that instead of the usual, which is silence or complaining, the speaker is calling for a rather radical action, which is characterized by violence, brutality, and resistance. The oppressed have the same enemy, and this enemy is the oppressor. Hence, they have to come together and face their common enemy. Though far outnumbered, let us show us brave. Our poetic speaker continues to make a passionate appeal to his people to ward away cowardice and join hands together to fight the enemy. And in doing this, they shouldn't be afraid that they are outnumbered by their enemies. He encouraged them to demonstrate bravery of heart in their quest to liberate themselves from the shackles of the oppressor. The oppressors are outnumbered because their ancestors were taken from the lands of Africa to America as slaves. Hence, the white population far outnumbers the black population. But the speaker still encourages them that don't be afraid, don't be cowards, let's come together and fight for a common goal. And for their 1,000 blows, deal one death blow. This line exaggerates the level of brutality and violence that can arise as a result of their resistance to a force that outnumbers them or that is more powerful than them. Again, this line also makes reference to the Red Summer, which was characterized by bloodshed and brutality. What though before us lie the open grave? The poet uses this powerful rhetorical question to inform his audience that it is not a win or lose battle they are going into. This battle they are going into, they know for sure that they are going to lose. He tells his people that, I know we are fighting a lost battle, and death is fast approaching, as a result of our resistance to a force that is greater than ours. Yet, we don't have to sit down and do nothing. The poet simply asks his people or his listeners that what is the sense of sitting down and doing nothing and still be brutalized when one can push for change and die as a result of that? Here, the speaker encourages his people to die in the cause of change instead of dying a shameless death. This rhetorical question conveys to the audience or listeners that they have to fight with their might and will, even though their resistance has severe consequences which can even lead to their death. Like men who face the murderous cowardly pack, pressed to the wall, dying but fighting back. Here, the poet encourages the oppressed to fight till they die, no retreat and no surrender. He encourages them to fight like men. Notice the use of men in this line. Man or men in this line connotes bravery, survivor, or fighters. One can equally say that men here can also be a deliberate attempt by the poet to reclaim their human dignity while dehumanizing the oppressors by calling them murderous cowardly packs. Here, the poet compares the oppressors to animals due to their actions. Here again, the poet admits that this fight they are embarking on is not and will not be an easy one. However, even in the face of death, one should continue fighting till he or she dies. No retreat and no surrender. When one dies such a death, then we can say that one has died a nobler death. The major themes of this poem include the following: the theme of oppression, the theme of defiance, the theme of violence, the theme of dehumanization, the theme of injustice, the theme of death, the theme of nobility, deadly resistance, and perseverance. Thanks for watching this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video.